He played the schedule game and has them still as a 10-win team post the Miles trade. To do so, we head out to the Wise Heart Right, We Make It Right. Call Kyle Wright hotline. Find out why Emory Hunt, CBS Sports HQ football game plan, believes that. And Emory joins us now. Emory, welcome to the show.
Glad to be on the show, guys. Great day to be a Cajun.
Why is that?
Like Louisiana Lafayette, the Raging Cajuns?
That's exactly where I play running back, so it's always a great day.
Nice.
I hadn't used that in like 20 years, so I wanted to get that off.
We'll allow it. That seems like they're just happy.
I used to love. I don't play video games anymore, but like when I did, like a million years ago, I'd play with Louisiana Lafayette, the Raging Cajuns, just because I thought that was awesome.
Hey, you are my favorite guy right now.
I used to do La Tech. I'm sorry. It was Skip Holtz, right? Come on. What was I gonna do?
No.
Emory, you played the schedule game, and despite trading Myles Garrett, you still have the Browns as a 10-win team. Walk us through.
Well, it was interesting because when we heard because I did the schedule game as soon as it came out. I'm talking about the official schedule, and I said the Browns can win 10 wins. I listed off reasons why. And then in that clip that went viral, I said Myles Garrett. Now, obviously, a couple of weeks later, Myles Garrett gets moved, and so they had me back on to talk about the schedule game again. But what made me go through the schedule and look at it again without Myles Garrett a part of the team was the fact that they got Jared Verse. And I felt like, okay, yeah, Verse is not Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett is an all-time great, future first ballot Hall of Famer, Cleveland Ring of Honor, all of those things. But Jared Verse ain't no slouch either. And so when you look at what he can do, and if you think about it from Verse's perspective, like, man, I thought I was entrenched in L.A. with how I played and what we did together as a group, and they viewed me as, expendable. I'm about to go out here and ball out with the Browns. We might see him get his first double-digit sack season as a pro based on what he just went through in terms of getting moved for a guy in Myles Garrett. So I still feel like the Browns have enough offensively and defensively to where 10 wins is definitely possible.
Yeah, so now is that playing with the idea that Shedeur is starting, or is that with Deshaun? Because I've had a hard time, Emory, playing the schedule game because I think highly of Shedeur, and I just don't think highly of Deshaun at this point.
For me, it's with Shedeur starting. And I will say this, it's always fascinating how and I'm not talking about you guys, I'm talking about the people that are on my side of things that kind of pontificate and talk, how disingenuous many people are. And how they're looking at this Shedeur thing with disingenuous eyes. If Shedeur was drafted in the first round, they talk about his 3-4 finish with the opportunity to go 5-2 to be like, wow, look at what he had. He barely had this and that, and they won 3 games. They should have won 5. But because he went in round 5, they're saying now, well, he threw 7 touchdowns and 10 picks. They lose all context, and they'll bring up QBR and all that stuff like that as if QBR matters. When we watch Dylan Gabriel perform worse than Shedeur with better numbers, so that tells you how much QBR doesn't matter. But I'm saying all that to say this. With Shedeur out there, you have an ascending talent. You have a guy that played good football, solid football with, considering the situation, and now you have better offensive weaponry around him. He has a stable offseason. And for Deshaun Watson, I just want to see him get back to that fluid throwing motion that we used to see from him in Houston. I said this was maybe the 2023 season or 2024 season when they played the Cowboys, and it was evident in that game he couldn't push the ball deep down the field. And it was frustrating because when you watched him in Houston, he legit threw the football like Warren Moon. It was a smooth stroke. He could throw it deep down the field accurately. And until I see him rip it like that again, then I would know for sure he's fully back. And it's unfortunate we're talking about something that happened in 2020 because we're 6 years removed from that. And he acknowledged the fact that he's not the same player. So we don't know what this version of Deshaun Watson looked like. But I do feel like at worst he gives you a solid veteran backup right now. But Shedeur Sanders is the ascending talent, and you want to maximize that with how well he finished last year, juxtaposed to what you built around him.
Emory, I think it's interesting. If let's take the quarterback out of it. Let's say we plug in league average quarterback play. So whatever you think the 16th to 17th best quarterback in the NFL can give you, let's say we get that out of the quarterback spot and you get some good performances around him. What do you like? How much of an upgrade do you think this offense can be over what was statistically one of the 3 worst offenses in the NFL in most major categories last offseason?
That's why I said 10 wins. And, if you think about league average quarterback play, and I'm glad you brought that up because I've always been, as I've been a proponent of big tackle propaganda and telling people that it's really about guards in the guard play, I've been hell-bent on letting people know, like, no one player is that good. Stop putting all the onus on a quarterback when all you got to do as a QB is play your 111. Just be 16th best or average football, and you can get to the Super Bowl. And so the reason why I still say 10 wins because they do look good on offense and defense. The problem, or I would say concern I have about the Browns is the depth defensively within the front 7. I know they've drafted Justin Jefferson, who is speedy. I love his range, but more so along the defensive line. Can they get consistent play from their second wave of defenders? I think they did a good job offensively adding depth along the offensive line. Guys are performing well based off what we've seen them do in shorts in terms of how they look athletically and how they're moving around. Obviously, we talk about the skill players, but in order to go from a 10-win team to a team that could go from, worst to first, like the Patriots did last year, they really have to tighten up their depth within the defensive line and also, adding maybe 1 or 2 more pieces on offense that really strengthens that stranglehold on the 2 deep.
I know you've been in Shedeur's corner the entire time. We've had you on for years, and you're kind of lockstep with me in where we stand there. But were you surprised at the narrative early on, and at least especially during the installs, that it felt like Deshaun was just the lead guy in all of this? And now obviously in the past couple days, past couple weeks, it's kind of moved towards being a closer race where some are even arguing Shedeur is caught up to Deshaun. Some are arguing he's even past him. But the early impression of this all, were you surprised it initially was so heavily in Deshaun's favor?
I was surprised at the lack of, layered questions. Because somebody said, well, Deshaun's out in front. Okay, explain how. And he never asked that question. Because if you just ask one more question, you see their house of cards fall apart. So it goes back to my initial argument. A lot of people was being disingenuous. They didn't like Deshaun Watson, but they don't like Shedeur Sanders more. They love the idea of this mythical QB, creature in 2027, just like they did in 2026. But they saw that blow up in smoke after week 1 of the college football season. And so I never really bought into that because we know football hasn't been played yet. This is all, junior Olympic testing and conditioning going on. But now they start to, switch, the tide and say, oh, he's catching up. They're saying he's catching up because they don't want to say, I was completely wrong and false when I put out that statement earlier in the minicamp all OTA circuit. So I still feel like Shedeur is a leader. Deshaun has to show that he can do this in games, just showing from where he is from a health perspective and in a mental space. And I'm rooting for him because, again, we're talking about a guy that was on a Hall of Fame trek before 2021. And I think that is hard for some people to forget, and it's hard for some people to realize that player may not be there anymore. It's almost like what we've seen happen from Russell Wilson. Once he left, Denver, you just kind of assume, like, okay, all right, he's going to be in a nice spot in Pittsburgh. He could finish out his career there. And we saw him play in 2 more spots, Pittsburgh and then the New York Giants, and then retire. So I feel like Deshaun has to show to himself, number one, that he still has it. He could kind of recapture a little bit of that spark that he had. But this is still Shedeur Sanders' team, in my opinion.
All right, Emory, outside of the quarterback, give me one player that you think is the key to this offense being successful in 2026.
Denzel Boston, the rookie. And it's crazy to put that type of crown on top of a rookie. But, man, we talk about some things the Browns didn't have last year. You're talking about guys that could win above the rim. You got that from Harold Fannin as a rookie. I feel like if Denzel Boston can be that bona fide X receiver, then they surrounded him with a lot of catch and run guys. Isaiah Bond, Casey Concepcion, Jerry Jeudy is one of those guys as well. And now you have a guy that can really win those 50-50 balls, but also, he has shown so far in, minicamp and OTAs and all of those things that he understands how to win short, how to win intermediate, how to win deep down the field. And one example I could quietly, put together is if you think about the play against the Baltimore Ravens when we saw Shedeur step in for the first time, the pass he threw to Gage Larverdane in the end zone, that was a greatly defended play, but it was an opportunity for Larverdane to make that grab, and it could have tied the game. Now you sub that out, you put Boston there, Boston makes that grab. And that's the type of difference he brings to an offense, which also means defensively you got to rotate coverage toward his side, which gives Jerry Jeudy opportunity to have more one-on-one. Casey Concepcion, even Tylen Wallace has shown he could do some good things when given the opportunity. And Bond, Bond is already open right now as we speak. Like, he just gets deep for whatever reason. Like, they just can't cover him. So I just like the fact that Boston is exactly what they needed.
Yeah, Bond's having a great camp, by the way, and I agree. I love Denzel Boston. We're going to find out about Concepcion. I need to see what kind of bounce-back season Jeudy has. What is the ceiling on this wide receiver group? If it was dead last year, what do you think this one can be this year?
Well, let's focus on the division. And you talk about a core within the division that they could be good and still probably end up fourth, depending on, like, look at what the Bengals have, look at what the Ravens have, and what the Steelers were able to add. But I do feel like this could be, because they're young, and you could toss Harold Fan in there, and I actually am a big fan of Joe Royer too. You toss those guys in there, man. This could be one of these young, exciting groups that grow together that we saw the Rams have, when Stafford first got there, that we saw Russell Wilson have when they was drafting those young guys around him, starting with the Golden Tates and those guys, right? That was there before Russell got there, but then you saw them start to add some pieces. I feel like this could be that type. So if they have the year that I'm expecting them to have, we're going to be talking about this receiving core of the Browns being definitely top 16. And I know that people say, well, that's league average. Well, if you think about 3 and 4 wide receiver sets and what that looks like, and you start to rank them, you realize there's a lot of good cores in the NFL, and being 16th is definitely ahead of the curve.
All right, Emory, right now, how would you rank these 4 AFC North teams heading into camp?
Whew. And you know what's else funny is when I did the initial schedule grade or schedule game, I had them beating or sweeping Pittsburgh, but that was when they had Mason Rudolph as a starter. But now it changes because you got Aaron Rodgers back. You have a better roster around him. So, man, I can see this thing, to be completely honest, everybody having 10 wins. I did that too. I did the schedule game with that. I had everybody with 10 wins, but I could also see the Browns finishing third. The difference between the Browns this year and the Browns last year, I feel like the Browns offense will win them some of these games that they should have won last year. Even going back to when Dylan Gabriel was starting and, Flacco was starting. They were in some of these ball games. They had a great chance. And now you have better skill players, guys that can close the door. I feel like the Browns could finish third with 10 wins. Now, what does that mean, playoffs or not? Because the AFC is so super talented, in order for the Browns to make the playoffs, they need only one team to come out the East and one team to come out the South, because I feel like the West and the North will have multiple teams.
Let me ask you one more thing about Taylor Green. Do you feel like we're going to see him in any sort of capacity at all this year? Obviously, Shedeur is the idea to start all 17, but if it starts to go a little rocky in any sort of way, do they throw him in there, or do you feel like I'm trying to figure out if Deshaun is going to be the guy after Shedeur or not?
I feel like Taylor Green is getting that red shirt year, and we saw that manifest itself in how they divvied up the reps in this mandatory minicamp that just ended. We barely saw Taylor Green. And so I feel like, yeah, there may be some opportunities for him to be a short yardage, red zone, green zone type guy to utilize his legs or whatnot. But I think if anything, we'll see Shedeur after Deshaun or Deshaun after Shedeur. I think we'll see just 2 quarterbacks this year.
Emory, great stuff as always, buddy. Appreciate you and appreciate the I'll say analysis, but we like a little Browns positivity around here as well. Appreciate you.
I appreciate y'all. Thanks for having me on.
Emory Hunt there on the Wise Heart Right, We Make It Right. Call Kyle Wright hotline.